Sectors of the Indian economy, economics second chapter. Let's begin with the chapter now. This is the content of the chapter. Sectoral classification can be done on the basis of the several criteria. In this chapter, 3 types of classifications are discussed: primary, secondary, and tertiary. It is important to emphasize on the changing role of sectors and about the problems caused by these changes. Economic activities. Now, what is economic activities? Those activities which generate income, and it can be divided as primary, secondary, and tertiary. A table is given. Table 2.1. It gives you some of the examples of economic activities. You need to read the examples and find out which sector it belongs to. Comparing. How do we count the various goods and services and know the total production in each sector? For this, you need to understand the final good and intermediate good. See the example. A farmer who sells wheat to a flour mill for rupees 8 per kg, and the mill grinds the wheat and sells the flour to a biscuit company for rupees 10 per kg. Remember that not every good or services that is produced and sold need to be counted. In contrast, all other goods used to make the final goods like wheat, oil, flour, sugar are called intermediate goods. So, we can say that the value of final good already includes the value of all the intermediate goods that are used in making the final goods. That is why biscuits are the final goods, that is, goods that reaches the consumer. So, with the help of calculating the final goods and services in each sector during a particular year provides the total production of the sector for that year, and we call it GDP, Gross Domestic Product. It is the value of all final goods and services produced within a country during a particular year. Earlier, primary sector was contributing maximum to the GDP, but with the changing scenario, now the tertiary sector contributes more because of its growing demand. The greater the development of the primary and secondary sector, more would be the demand for such services. Historical changes. At initial stages of development, primary sector was the most important sector of economic activity in a country. With the innovation in farming methods, agriculture sector began to produce much more food than before. People started working in industry. Gradually, secondary sector became the most important in economic and providing employment. Gradually, we can see the shift from the secondary to tertiary due to the demand for services like banking, health, education. The service sector has become the most important sector in terms of total production and started employing more people. This is the exercise given in your book. Please go through it and try to solve this question. Coming to the next topic, where are most of the people employed? We are comparing the 2 time period, 1973 to 74 and 2013 to 14. Data might be varied in your books. Please consider that. In the period during 1973 to 74, 40% is contributing by the primary sector in the GDP. Secondary sector is giving 12% and 48% is contributed by the tertiary sector. Employment percentage, if we talk about, is 74% employed in primary and only 15% in the tertiary sector. Whereas in 2013-14, 67% is contributed by the tertiary sector and primary sector reduces to the 12%. This gives us the clear idea of the shift. Disguised unemployment. It is a kind of unemployment in which there are people who are visibly employed but are actually unemployed. This situation is called the hidden unemployment. In such a situation, more people are engaged in a work than required. Again, a worksheet. Please try to solve these questions by your own. How to create employment. There can be many more ideas and ways to generate employment. There are some of the methods which can be used, like granting loans, investments, increasing efficiencies of transportation and storage, government welfare programs. Many more examples you can put in by your own as well. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act 2005 started by the government. In rural areas, all those who are able to and are in need of work are guaranteed 100 days of employment in a year by the government. If the government fails in its duty to provide employment, it will give unemployment allowance to the people. This is the worksheet. 4 questions are there related to the topic we have just done. Try to solve these questions. Now, comparing the organized sector and unorganized sector. Sector in which the employment terms are fixed and employees have assured work is organized sector, whereas unorganized sector comprises of small-scale enterprises or units and are not registered with the government. Rest classification on the basis of different comparison parameters are given. Go through it. This is an example of both organized and unorganized sector by Kanta and Kamal. Please go through this example. It is given in your book. This is the worksheet given in your book. Please go through it. It is related to the topic we have just covered, organized and unorganized sector. Coming to the next, that is the public sector and the private sector. The section of a nation's economy which is under the control of government, whether it is central, state or local, is known as the public sector, whereas the section of a nation's economy which owned and controlled by private individuals or companies is known as the private sector. Rest classification on the basis of different parameters are given. Please go through it. Worksheet for you. Please try to solve these questions.